Hello, maganda umaga. Sawadee krap. My name is Orlando Lara, and our beloved sister here, Roma, we'll be talking as well. And I've been given the honor and the privilege to preach about a righteous revolution in the mission field and evangelism. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 9. 1 Corinthians 9, verse 19 to 23. Verse 19 reads, Paul's use of his freedom. Though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone to win as many as possible. To the Jews, I became like a Jew to win the Jews. To those under the law, I became like one under the law, though I myself am not under the laws, so as to win as many as to win those under the law. Verse 21, to those not having the law, I became like one not having the law, though I am not free from God's law, but I am under Christ's law, so as to win those not having the law. To the weak, I became weak to win the weak. I have become all things to all people, so that by all possible means I might save some. I do all this for the sake of the gospel, that I may share in its blessing. Paul the Apostle, the ultimate missionary, going into foreign countries and doing his thing. You know, as missionaries, we are endowed with the responsibility of showing people God's salvation. Living in Bangkok, we are called to do the same as well. Living in Cebu, living in wherever you live, in whatever mission field, we are called to show people God's salvation. And coming from a foreign country, coming to Thailand, I had to relearn, I had to unlearn a lot of different things. Thai people are very much different, and the way that I walk, the way that I talk, the way that I eat even, all had to come to a death. All had to come to an end. And I just want to say to all of you guys, are you willing to die to yourself as well, so that a few may be saved as well? Are you willing to give up your identity as who you are, as me, as Orlando, as her, as Roma, so that a few may be saved? How willing are we today, family? I just want to call all of you guys. So let us fix our eyes on Christ, our great Redeemer, the perfect one who was perfect in all of its glory, but who descended from heaven and walked this earth. How he became all things to all men. How much more should we become all things to all people? How much more should we learn the language? We learn the mannerism. We learn their way of thinking and their way of living out in the mission field, wherever it may be. It may be the next city over. It does not matter. We must learn the way of whoever we're evangelizing. Even if you're discipling someone, you must learn as to how they think, how they breathe. You must be one with them. In order so that one soul may be saved. So let us fix our eyes on Christ. Let us imitate Christ. And with that, I give you Roma.
So, utang na loob, padrino system, Filipino time, comparing the children to the other relatives. Sounds familiar? Well, those are our cultural sins as Filipino, right? In the mission field, we gotta understand how people think, respond, and act. Because their actions are heavily influenced by their language and culture. That's why we need to become all things to all men by knowing their hearts.
Come on.
In Romans 12 verse 2, it says there that we do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed. So every mission field, every ministry, there is a specific pattern of cultural sin that resulted from tolerated behavior and mindset that were declared as socially acceptable by the majority. As disciples, we ought to transform it and not conform it. That's why in the Bible, God would address each nation's sin separately, such as the Babylonians, the Egyptians, Judah, and even Israel. In the same way, the Thai people's cultural sin is different from Filipino cultural sin. And it's different from Cambodian cultural sin. But what's dangerous about this is if we're not sober, we might not be aware that we're also practicing it. Right? Who else had utang na loob at home? In Bangkok, which is known as the sex capital of Asia, people go there not to seek God, but to offer their bodies to Satan through prostitution, promiscuity, drugs, plastic surgery, and same-sex marriage. Those sins are deeply rooted to one thing, the lack of self-worth. So in Thailand, one of our biggest cultural sin is lack of self-worth. And it comes from not having the understanding of God. They have no knowledge of God, never read of the Bible, never prayed, never been to church. They're not atheists by choice, they're atheists by birth. And so the challenge for us is to teach them their self-worth. So my practical for you sisters is study out the cultural sin in your ministry. What are the cultural sins? Make a Bible study, start preaching it to yourself, to your disciples, and to the people around you. The most effective evangelism is when we learn the language of the heart of people, the cultural sin. It's time to start a revolution in our ministries by transforming the culture and bringing the kingdom culture.
And with that, I say unto you all, I want to challenge you guys to dream for God, dream to go on a mission field, dream to be a missionary. And with that, to God be all the glory.